You know the scene? It's what, 6 p.m. on a Monday. You walk into a commercial gym. It
Oh.
smells like rubber and desperation. It's packed. And you look around and you see the same guys you've seen every Monday for the last 3 years.
Right.
They're sweating, they're grunting, they are hitting the pec deck with just like absolute ferocity. They look like they are at war. And yet, if you're being honest, they look exactly the same as they did 3 years ago.
It's the hamster wheel of fitness.
Yeah.
A tremendous amount of kinetic energy, very little forward movement.
Exactly. And if you're one of those people, or if you've ever felt like that person, staring in the mirror after 6 months of grinding and seeing zero change, the standard advice is usually to just want it more.
Do more sets. Buy this new pre-workout.
Sleep less, grind more. But today, we're doing a deep dive into a text that calls that entire approach a lie.
Very expensive, very exhausting lie.
We're breaking down Beyond Brawn, the Insider's Encyclopedia on How to Build Muscle and Might by Stuart McRobert. And this isn't just a workout book. It's practically a manifesto for the average human being who has been gaslit by the fitness industry.
It really is. McRobert published this back in 1998, and it was a rebellion. He looked at the whole fitness landscape, the magazines, the supplement ads, and saw it was catering almost exclusively to genetic outliers and drug users while leaving the vast majority of the population to fail.
And that's our mission for this deep dive. We are going to decode the specific and often counterintuitive formula for the Hardgainer. And spoiler alert, if you aren't seeing results, the answer might be that you are working too hard, not too little.
It sounds backwards, but biologically, it's the only way most people will ever actually grow.
Okay, so let's start with that label, Hardgainer. In gym culture, that's almost a derogatory term.
Oh, for sure.
It's like admitting defeat. Oh, I'm just a hard gainer. I can't get big. It just sounds like an excuse for being lazy.
Right, it's often used as a shield. But McRobert, he flips the script entirely. He argues that hard gainer is a terrible name for what is actually just a normal gainer.
Okay.
He presents some really compelling statistics on the genetic spectrum of muscle building that completely reframe how we should look at ourselves.
Break that down for us, because I think everyone assumes the guy on the cover of the magazine represents what's possible if you just try hard enough. We think that guy is the standard, and we are the defect.
And that is the root of the failure. McRobert suggests picturing a bell curve. On the far, far right, you have the super easy gainers.
Okay.
These are the genetic freaks, maybe less than 1% of the population. They have high natural testosterone, perfect muscle belly insertions, favorable tendon attachments, and these incredibly resilient nervous systems. They can, look at a dumbbell and grow.
These are the guys who eat fast food, sleep 4 hours, train randomly with terrible form, and they still look like Greek gods.
Exactly.
We all know one, and we all hate him just a little bit.
Precisely.
Yeah.
Then you have the easy gainers, maybe 10 to 15%. They respond pretty well to most reasonable programs. They can make mistakes and still make progress. But the remaining 85%,
That's the rest of us.
that is the hard gainer. That is the vast majority of the human population. These are people who biologically just cannot tolerate high volume, high frequency stress.
So let's be really clear here. If you're struggling to put on muscle, you aren't the broken outlier. You're statistically normal. You are the 85%.
You are the rule, not the exception. The problem is that the instruction manual, the magazines, the YouTube channels, the whole gym culture, it's written by the 1% for the 1%.
McRobert calls this the modern travesty of the gym industry. And it's not just about genetics, is it? There's a chemical component here that nobody liked to talk about in the 90s.
And people still kind of dodge it today.
Yeah.
The elephant in the room, steroids. McRobert is very blunt about this. And remember, he's writing from a perspective of wanting to save the natural trainee. Since the 1960s, the standard training routines, the 6-day splits, hitting chest from 4 different angles, 20 sets per body part, those were popularized by bodybuilders who were chemically enhanced.
And the specific things steroids do, functionally, it isn't just make you big, it's that they enhance recovery to a superhuman level.
Exactly. If you are on performance-enhancing drugs, your protein synthesis is elevated around the clock.
Yeah.
You can tear a muscle down completely today and be ready to do it again in 48 hours. But for a natural, normal trainee, that 85%, if you try to replicate that routine, you don't grow.
You just dig yourself into a hole.
You just dig a recovery hole deeper than you can fill.
It's like a compact car trying to follow a Formula One car around a track. The F1 car takes a corner at 100 miles an hour because it has the downforce in the tires. The compact car tries it because that's what the pro did and flies off a cliff.
That is a perfect analogy. And McRoberts says the result is that the average guy burns out, gets injured, or quits. And that's why accepting the title of Hardgainer isn't depressing. It's the aha moment.
It's liberating.
It is. It gives you permission to stop training like a drug-enhanced genetic freak and start training like a normal human who wants abnormal results.
Okay, so if we accept we are the compact car, how do we drive? Because we still want to get to the finish line. This brings us to the core philosophy of Beyond Brawn, abbreviated training.
The philosophy is simply less is more. It is the hardest lesson to learn because it feels lazy. It goes against our work ethic.
It really does. I mean, if I want to get rich, I work more hours. If I want to get smarter, I read more books. If I want bigger muscles, my intuition screams that I should lift more weights for longer.
In almost every other area of life, more input equals more output. In bodybuilding, for the natural trainee, more input often equals negative output. McRobert insists that your body has a finite amount of adaptation energy. If you use all that energy just recovering from the stress of a 2-hour workout, there is nothing left over to actually build new tissue. You're just treading water.
So we need to cut the junk. We need to stop doing the 3 types of curls and the cable flies. McRobert proposes something he calls the mighty fivesome.
This is the antidote to all the pump and fluff routines. He argues you should build your entire lifting existence around, well, roughly 5 compound movements.
Let's list them, but I want to get into the nuance of why these specific ones. Number 1 is the squat.
The king. But McRobert is pragmatic here. He says if your structure allows for safe back squats, you must squat. It triggers a systemic growth response that a leg extension just cannot match.
It's a full body thing.
It releases growth hormone and testosterone because the load is so demanding on the entire skeleton, you are putting the whole body under load.
But he does offer an out for people with bad backs, right? He's not a masochist.
He is not. If you can't squat safely due to, leverage issues or injury history, the leg press is acceptable. But he warns that the intensity must be absolutely brutal. You can't just sit there reading a magazine.
Okay, number 2, the deadlift. But he has a very specific recommendation here regarding the style, which I found really interesting because purists usually hate this.
This is crucial. He strongly advocates for the trap bar or hex bar deadlift or the sumo style.
Why not the conventional street bar deadlift we see in competitions?
Leverage and longevity. The conventional deadlift requires fairly specific hip and femur mechanics to do safely with heavy weight over a long career. The trap bar lets you step inside the weight.
Right, so it changes the center of gravity.
It keeps the center of gravity aligned with your spine. It reduces the shear force on the lower back significantly while still hitting the legs and back with massive weight.
So it's high return, lower risk. I like that. Next up, the bench press.
Standard choice for upper body pushing power. Hits the chest, shoulders, and triceps all at once.
Then the overhead press.
For the shoulders and triceps. And a standing overhead press is arguably more functional than benching too.
And finally, a vertical pulso, either a weighted pull-up or a heavy pull-down.
And that's pretty much it. That is the
And
core.
wild. You look at some gym bros routines and they have 5 exercises just for their biceps.
And that is why they are small. McRobert allows for secondary work. Some calf raises, some ab work, maybe some rotator cuff exercises for shoulder health. But, and this is the rule, these accessory moves must never steal energy from the big 5. If you are too tired to squat heavy because you did too many lunges or calf raises beforehand, you have failed the program.
It requires a lot of trust. You're putting all your eggs in just 5 baskets.
But you watch those baskets like a hawk. Because you're doing fewer exercises, you can generate immense intensity. And this is the second part of the equation. You do them less often.
The biological week. This was one of my favorite takeaways from the book because it challenges how we schedule our lives. We are so conditioned to the 7-day calendar. Monday is chest day. Wednesday is leg day.
But your muscles don't own a calendar. Your cells don't know it's Tuesday. McRobert attacks the 96-hour atrophy rule, this old myth that if you don't train a muscle every 4 days, it shrinks. He says that's nonsense.
That's not true.
Not for a hard gainer moving heavyweights. For them, a training week might need to be a 9 or 10-day cycle.
So you might only squat once every 10 days.
Correct. If you are truly training with the intensity he demands, pushing to the absolute limit, your nervous system and your joints might need more than a week to recover.
Wow.
He recommends training a body part twice a week max for beginners. But as you get stronger, that frequency should drop. Once a week or even, 3 times every 2 weeks.
That is going to be psychologically very hard for people who use the gym as therapy or stress relief.
For sure.
They want to go every day. It feels good to go.
And McRobert asks a very pointed question. Are you training to satisfy an addiction to exercise, or are you training to build muscle? If it's the latter, you have to respect the biology. You grow when you rest. You don't grow in the gym, you break down in the gym. If you go back before the bricks are laid, you're just knocking down the wall again.
Okay, so we've stripped the routine down to the studs. We are resting more. But what are we actually doing during those few sets? We can't just go in and lift the same weight forever.
No. And this brings us to the golden rule of Beyond Brawn. If you take nothing else from this deep dive, take this. Progressive poundages.
Adding weight to the bar.
It is the single, non-negotiable metric of success. If you are not adding weight to the bar over time, you are not building muscle, period. The pump doesn't matter. The sweat doesn't matter. The soreness doesn't matter. Did the number go up?
But here's the trap, and I've fallen into this. When guys here add weight, they think, okay, I benched 200 last week. I'll try 210 this week.
And they get crushed.
Yeah.
Right? The ego takes over. You want to see the big plates move? McRobert champions a concept called micro-loading.
Which involves equipment most gyms don't even have.
Sadly, yes. He's talking about the little washers, the fractional plates, half-pound discs, 1-pound magnets.
It feels ridiculous to put a tiny little washer on a 300-pound bar. It feels insignificant. You almost want to hide it so people don't laugh at you.
But that is the mental trick. If you add 10 pounds, your body feels the shock. Your form breaks down. You miss the rep. But if you add 1 pound, your body doesn't even notice. The threshold for adaptation is triggered, but the load isn't so heavy that you fail.
And the math is undeniable. If I add 1 pound a week to my bench press...
That is 52 pounds in a year.
If you ask any guy in the gym, would you like to add 50 pounds to your bench press this year? They would bite your hand off.
Exactly. But because they try to add 50 pounds in 2 months, they stall, get injured, reset, and end the year exactly where they started. It's the tortoise and the hare.
Be the tortoise.
McRobert wants you to be the tortoise, the relentless, boring, unstoppable tortoise.
He has this great thought experiment about a dictator mentor.
Yes. I love this visual. He wishes he had a mentor with a gun to his head who would say, you are forbidden from doing anything else until you add 10% to your squat.
Wow.
No cable crossovers, no drop sets, no socializing, just add the weight. It forces a singularity of focus that most of us lack.
But we have to add a massive disclaimer here, because chasing numbers can get dangerous if you're stupid about it.
Absolutely. Progressive poundages carries an asterisk. With perfect form. McRobert is a stickler for this. No bouncing the bar off your chest, no arching your back like a horseshoe to grind out a rep.
If you have to cheat to get the weight up, the weight is too heavy.
And you aren't stimulating the muscle, you're just stressing your joints. He's very conservative on safety. He advises avoiding behind-the-neck presses.
And terrible for the rotator cuff.
Awful. He hates squatting with heels on a board. The goal is to be training in 20 years, not to hit a PR today and need surgery tomorrow.
So we're training heavy, we're micro-loading, we're staying safe. Let's talk about the destination. What does the finish line actually look like? Because I think social media has completely warped our perception of a good physique.
Oh, totally.
We see 250-pound monsters with 4% body fat and think that's the baseline.
It's a fantasy land. McRobert brings us back to earth with some hard numbers for what a successful natural physique looks like. And for some people, this might be a reality check.
Give us the specs.
Okay, let's take an average height male, about 5'9". McRobert argues that a terrific goal, essentially the genetic limit for many, is a lean 190 pounds.
190 at 5'9" is thick, but it's not the Hulk.
It is. We're talking about 10 to 12% body fat. Not shriveled competition lean, but visible abs. He describes the visual impact. 16.5-inch arms and a 45-inch chest.
See, 16-inch arms sound small when you hear rappers talking about 24-inch pythons.
But 16.5-inch arms on a lean 5'9" guy look massive in a t-shirt. They stand out in any normal room. They look athletic and powerful, not cartoonish. That is a physique that commands respect.
He uses the John McCallum formula to personalize this, right? Because not everyone has the same skeleton.
Correct. The formula ties your muscular potential to your bone structure, specifically your wrist size. If you have thick wrists, You can carry more muscle. If you have tiny wrists, like a 6-inch circumference, your maximum chest size might be smaller than someone with 8-inch wrists.
So it sets realistic targets.
It's a great way to set realistic, personalized targets so you aren't chasing a ghost.
And to get that 190-pound physique, you have to move some serious iron. He doesn't let you off easy on the strength standards.
This is where the rubber meets the road. To reach that terrific status, the strength goals are a 300-pound bench press, a 400-pound squat, and a 500-pound deadlift.
Wow, a 500-pound deadlift is no joke. That is moving a vending machine.
It is elite for a normal person. And he adds a bonus. Overhead pressing your own body weight, so roughly 190 pounds over your head.
That puts the abbreviated training into perspective. You don't get a 300-pound bench press by doing pec deck flies. You get it by obsessively adding those little fractional plates to the bench press for 5 years.
Exactly. It reinforces the focus. Anything that doesn't help you reach those numbers is a distraction.
So we have the training, we have the targets, but McRobert calls the time outside the gym the other 50%.
This is the lifestyle component. And honestly, this is where most people fail. You can destroy yourself in the gym, but you grow in bed and at the dinner table.
He has a rule about sleep that made me laugh, and then it made me cry a little because it's so hard to do.
The no alarm rule.
Yeah. You must wake up fully rested without an alarm.
In our modern economy, that sounds impossible.
Mm-hmm.
But the principle is sound. If you are jarring yourself awake with a siren every morning, you are cutting your recovery cycle short. He suggests going to bed early enough that you wake up naturally before the alarm goes off.
Right.
If you need an alarm to wake up, you are sleep deprived. And if you're sleep deprived, you are not a hard gainer, you are an under-recover.
That's a distinction worth noting. And on nutrition, he avoids the whole dirty bulk approach that was popular for a while.
Right. No eating everything in sight.
Mm-hmm.
He wants you to eat enough to grow, but keep body fat under 15% for men. If you get too fat, your insulin sensitivity drops, and it becomes harder to build muscle. But don't fear healthy fats. You need the calories to fuel that 400-pound squat.
He also suggests a tactic for accountability that I think is brilliant, although terrifying: videotaping.
It is the ultimate truth teller. He advises taping your physique and your main lifts every 6 months.
Because the mirror lies to us. We see what we want to see.
The mirror lies constantly. Lighting changes, your mood changes, you suck in your gut. But a videotape doesn't lie. If you look the same in the video 6 months from now as you do today, your training isn't working. It forces you to be objective.
It was painful data.
It's painful, but it's necessary data.
And treating training like a sport with deadlines.
Yes. A competitive lifter knows exactly when they have to perform. McRobert says the hard gainers should do the same. Don't just go to the gym, set a goal. By June 1st, I will add 10 pounds to my bench. It creates urgency. It stops you from just drifting along.
It all comes back to that tortoise mindset again. It seems to be the recurring theme of the whole book.
It really is. He says getting there slowly is the only way to get there quickly. It sounds like a paradox. But the hare, the guy who rushes, uses bad form, tries to max out every week, he inevitably gets injured or burns out.
Right.
He spends months rehabbing or quitting. The tortoise just keeps moving forward 1 pound at a time.
So let's wrap this up. If we had to write a manifesto for the hard gainer based on Beyond Brawn, what are the main bullet points?
Okay, first, reject the conventional high-volume routines. They are not designed for your biology.
Number 2.
Second, embrace the Mighty 5 compound lifts. Master them. Third, focus obsessively on microloading. Add that 1 pound perfectly every time. And fourth, respect your recovery. If you aren't growing, you need more rest, not more work.
It requires a philosophical shift. You have to stop looking at the gym as a place to burn calories or punish yourself and start looking at it as a stimulus tool.
Right.
Trigger the growth, then leave.
That leads to the final provocative thought McRobert leaves us with. It's the difference between obsession and dedication.
Break that down.
Obsession is neurotic. It's living in the gym. It's thinking more is better. It's an addiction to the feeling of exhaustion. That's easy. Anyone can work themselves into the ground.
And dedication.
Dedication is strategic. Dedication is having the discipline to stay out of the gym when you want to go, because you know your body needs to grow. It's having the discipline to stick to the plan when the guy next to you is doing something flashy.
That's powerful. It actually takes more discipline to take a rest day than to go train when you're wired that way.
Exactly. So the question to the listener is this: are you brave enough to do less to achieve more? Or are you just addicted to the feeling of being tired? Because tired isn't the same as strong.
A painful question, but a necessary one. Go home, eat some good food, turn off the alarm clock, and maybe take a nap. Thanks for listening to this deep dive into Beyond Brawn. We'll catch you on the next one.